Our second reading for today is also an adapted excerpt from Christine Valters Paintner's work, Lectio Divina, The Sacred Art. The heart of the contemplative journey is the movement towards inner stillness. When we first enter into a place of complete outer stillness, we will find that our minds are clamoring with thoughts and voices vying for our attention. Sometimes this is enough to make us avoid silence altogether. Indeed, I suspect that it is part of the drive behind the constant noise we fill our lives with. With this constant chorus and cacophony, we can avoid the hard work of listening to the noise that fills our hearts. When we first begin to practice any kind of contemplative prayer, it is normal to experience a heightened awareness of inner voices, constant commentary, judgments, and chatter within. Throughout our lives, we will wrestle with these to varying degrees. It is part of our human nature to have active minds. What the practice of contemplative prayer offers us is an arena in which we can cultivate the ability to become present to this internal noise, acknowledging it and letting it go. Sometimes the work is to notice the specific thoughts and become curious about them, uncovering the hidden narratives that drive our lives and compulsions. The ancient desert monks wrote extensively about the kinds of thoughts we were likely to encounter in stillness of prayer. From anger to laziness, these thoughts were met and named for what they are: perversions of ourselves, distractions from the movement towards our deepest, most authentic self. How they worked with these was to cultivate their opposites, the virtues. When we find ourselves impatient, we seek to bring the quality of patience to our lives. When we find ourselves angry or resentful, we seek to bring gratitude. The work is to first notice the thoughts rising and meet them with compassion and curiosity. If our mind is racing, or we are filled with anxiety or uneasiness, we return to the breath as a way of calming both body and mind. We then seek to cultivate the virtue in our hearts that helps us quell the insistence of this voice within us. We slowly move to the place of releasing thoughts altogether, where we can forget our small selves and open ourselves to the holy other, in which we find rest.
The third movement, Oratio, or prayer, invites us to read the sacred text as a prayer. As Valters Paintner writes, after we spend time savoring our inner experience and welcoming in our emotions, we are moved towards some kind of response. We speak the sacred text as a prayer and then listen for guidance on how we are to engage with and move through the world. As Valters Paintner explains, the qualities of the movement are summoning and serving. Thus, Oratio is about hearing the call of the Spirit and responding. The call of the Spirit may be a life-changing call, or a call that creates a gentle shift within, or even a deepening understanding of purpose. We encourage you to be open to the invitation that arises within you, to open your heart, and to rest in the presence of what you experience as the divine or the spirit of life. Because contemplatio, or contemplation, often moves seamlessly from oratio, and is a culmination of what's been experienced in the prior movements, we're going to talk about it before we engage with the sacred text again. Contemplatio is a movement where we gently let all things be. We let our senses, feelings, images, and memories arise and pass. As Valters Paintner illuminates, in contemplation, we surrender ourselves into the presence of the one who is the source of all. The stillness of heart to which we are called to in contemplative prayer is not a void or an absence of sound, but a rich and vibrant presence. We let ourselves enter into the unknowing and the mystery and the silence of being so that we may experience that which we know as holy. To gently move between these two movements, we'll gaze upon the sacred text as a prayer and then open our hearts to the Spirit's call. We'll transition into Complatio as we watch and listen to our final piece of special music. With humble hearts and minds, we lift up our gratitude for the words and phrases gifted to us by the divine and the spirit of life. May these words and phrases be seeds that inspire us to rest in peace and embolden us to rest in healing. May they ripen within us as we see the dawn of the new year on the horizon. May they guide us as we commit ourselves to the intentions and visions that live within our hearts. Blessed be, and Amen. Our final reading for today is an adapted excerpt from Jack Kornfield's work, The Wise Heart, a guide to the universal teachings of Buddhist psychology. Kornfield, a celebrated author, was trained as a Buddhist monk in Burma, India, and Thailand, and holds a PhD in clinical psychology. He has taught meditation around the world and is among one of the key teachers to bring Buddhist mindfulness to America. And now begins our reading. Learning to concentrate, though initially difficult, works. Gradually, through repeated focus on our subject over hours and days, the mind's wandering diminishes. It settles down and steadies itself on the subject of meditation. This process of developing concentration is described by Buddhist texts as purification. The term is not a religious or moral one, but rather describes an experience of release in body and mind. Purification means the release of tension, conflict, distractions, sorrow, and anxiety. As we try to concentrate in meditation, our thoughts, conflicts, plans, and unfinished emotional business will get in the way. Physical tension and restlessness, memories and fears, instincts and drives will repeatedly interrupt us. Purification comes from the deliberate release of each of these distractions until the mind settles down and becomes still, contented, and unwavering. As we repeatedly release the succession of tensions and thoughts, the mind and body gradually feel clearer. The process of purification can go on for days and months. Success in concentration comes not through suppression, but by acknowledging each distraction and each conflict mindfully, with attention but without attachment, and letting it go until it subsides or loses its sway over us. Eventually, after thousands of repetitions, the mind and heart begin to feel purified, released from the grip of these distractions, almost unwavering on the meditation subject. With further concentration, the mind becomes so filled with the subject, so absorbed, that nothing can distract it. Once this happens, the inner experience becomes one of wholeness and steadiness, and an inner luminosity arises. Every contemplative tradition, from Christian to Taoist, describes the experience of this inner light. It is quite literal. When we have been through a process of purification and can concentrate steadily, the mind, the body, and the whole of space can appear as being filled with light. These simple, dry, methodical practices are, paradoxically, a path to oceanic rapture and expansiveness. In this meditative way, we systematically open to the mystical dimensions of the mind.